Yo, it's me, Chaz, and welcome to Gospel in the Corner, where we talk about issues in the black community and how the Bible can shed light on those issues. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. I want to talk about one of my favorite songs from Stevie Wonder called Village Ghetto Land. And since I don't want to get a copyright strike, I want you to please listen to the song on YouTube or wherever you can get it, and then come back. Stevie Wonder is one of my favorite black musicians, and this song of his, Village Ghetto Land, always stood out to me. I feel like if you grew up in the hood, you immediately understand the image that Stevie was trying to paint using his lyrics. Stevie shows us in song the struggle and the mindset of the impoverished places all over America. Black Americans have been redlined, pushed into these ghettos for years, and the country has profited greatly off of this segregation by design. The brunt of living in these places is not something you can understand by watching TV shows like The Wire or watching Boys in the Hood, but you have to have lived there to really get it. I have lived in these spaces for over 30 years, and you see the overabundance of liquor stores, fast food shops, and people strung out all throughout the street. And that is what I think Stevie is getting at here. The mess of drug abuse, poverty, and sadly enough, it still goes on, even in such wealthy places, at least on the surface, as New York City. Did you hear it? Did you hear just how powerful that song is? Village Ghetto Land. Listening to just the tone of the song is very interesting to me. Um, it's like very regal and like set apart, but yet the things that Stevie is describing is very sick. People eating from garbage cans, robbers, broken glass everywhere. You know that these are things that don't paint. They paint a very different scene, and so I think that's part of the irony of a song like this. It's like these are circumstances that people live in every day, and it seems like people could care less. It's interesting to note that the funny commentary on police there is that, unless you own the police, they ain't coming to help you. And a lot of times in these communities, there are no police. You can never that's like the running joke in the hood is, it take you 2 days for the police to come to you. But if certain people move into your community, the police are there at a moment's notice. As soon as you breathe, it's a cop down your back. And so I see that as kind of a little joke there. The same is the case with the line about the politicians. The politicians are not really paying too much attention to these particular issues in these lower income communities. Now, the more wealth that is in the community, it seems like the more that they would help. But a lot of the demands of the people go unmet or unheard. And so Therefore, what do you have? You have poverty. You have people that are hungry, and you have people that are strung out. And I mean, this is something that you can see so clearly in New York City. That, huge places like 125th Street where the Apollo is, you can walk up to the Apollo and see a great show, and you can walk down the block and see like scores of people strung out on meth or K2 or any drug of choice, just out there languishing in the street. Like, is this like a place you would like to be? Like, many times I laugh about it. I laugh in anger that this is like a developing country in a lot of instances, and I know that there are ghettos all around America that are like this. Stevie said something about infants and grief, and it put me in the mind of Lamentations 9, Lamentations 2, 9 through 12, where it says, "Her gates have sunk into the ground, their bars he has broken and destroyed. Her king and her princes are exiled among the nations. The law is no more, and her prophets no longer find visions from the Lord. The elders of daughter Zion sit on the ground in silence. They have sprinkled dust on their heads and put on sackcloth. The young women of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. My eyes fell from weeping. I am in torment within. My heart is poured out on the ground, because my people are destroyed, because the children and the infants faint in the streets of the city. They say to their mothers, 'Where is bread and wine?' as they faint like the wounded in the streets of the city, as their lives as, as their lives ebb away in their mothers' arms." The people of God in Lamentations were under immense suffering. In this case, they were suffering for the things that they've done for centuries now. And God had finally sought to punish them. And he took them into an exile for the most of the people. And the people that were left in the city, they were under some of the same conditions that Stevie Wonder talked about. People are um, eating their children are starving, um, everybody's distraught and sad, and it's crazy to think that that was a wartime situation where they were a conquered people. And there's a part of me that makes like a little contrast in my head. It's like, oh wow, we're like, people under these conditions in this day and age are kind of like a conquered people who get little to no resources from those who rule, and their concerns and issues are often not looked upon or even cared about. So that was an interesting thing there that stood out to me. Stevie Wonder wrote this during a time of many riots, race and otherwise, in these communities, and I can't help to think that this was not like a crying out for those people who may have no other means to stand up to what's going on, and they feel oppressed, and they feel like they want to get out, and sometimes that comes out in rioting and looting and stuff like that. And I would not advocate for anybody to riot and loot, but under the circumstances that Stevie has talked about, it makes sense how a person can be driven to that, to feel like there's no way out. And I just pray that we can look at artists like Stevie and listen to his words and let it be a cautionary tale on how to build our society moving forward. At this point, I want to pray. I hope that you enjoyed the reaction. This is my first time doing it. Let me know what you think. I wish I could have put the song in the background, but copyright and all that stuff, I'd rather not get fined. But hopefully you process the song with me and come up with your own thoughts and put them in the comments. Jesus, Lord, we come to you. We're thinking we're thinking about all these horrid conditions that are right in our face, Lord. Give us the power to have impact in these circles, Lord, in whatever ways you gifted us to help. Lord, let those people not be forgotten. The person strung out on the street, the homeless person, the baby who's hungry, Lord. Lord, you see all things. And while we may not see the underbelly of what goes on in our cities and our hoods and everywhere else, Lord, we know you are able. And we know you are able to use us, your hands and feet, to do your work. Lord, we are eternally grateful for you. Thank you. And this concludes our episode of Gospel on the Corner. See you again soon. Peace.